Welcome and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Maria and today's video is going to be another reading vlog. So this week it's actually going to be all new releases. So there's been a few anticipated releases come out this month. So my TBR has basically all been pushed to the side for all of these new releases coming out. I should have really thought about that. I should have really worked them in when I was working on my TBR, but you know, I'm a mood reader, it is what it is. Sometimes the TBR works and sometimes it doesn't. The first book I'm reading this week is Born of Blood and Ash. Now this is the fourth book in the Of Flesh and Fire series, which is the prequel series to From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So bit of a mouthful there. It is quite a convoluted series when you look at it, but essentially this is the last book in that series, so it's the last book in that kind of prequel side of things, so it's a bit hard to give you a synopsis on what this one's about. But if you haven't heard of From Blood and Ash, it's basically about Poppy, who is the maiden of this land. She has been kept away from everyone most of her life. She's very chaste, you know, she's never been kissed or touched or anything like that, and her sole purpose is to be the maiden and to bring in this new dawn by completing the ascension. And essentially in the first book of From Blood and Ice, she is left without a guard for several reasons, and her new guard Hawk comes in and let's just say he teaches her a few things that she didn't know before, maybe makes her see that the world isn't quite as she had assumed it would be, and the story goes from there. But this one is quite far removed from that in terms of it's supposed to have happened, you know, thousands of years before, and it's all connected, it's all kind of connected to that story, but this is quite a far way in. So yeah, I can't really give you a synopsis on this one, but it is the last book in that prequel series. But so far I'm about 20% into this one, so I'm not too far into it at all, and a lot of it is kind of dealing with grief and trauma because of some things that happened in the previous book have really left our main character within this series quite traumatized, and there's a lot of stuff that she needs to deal with in this one. So it's starting off pretty slow. She's just kind of reacquainting herself with familiar surroundings and kind of getting used to that. So far I am enjoying it. I do really like these books and I really love the characters in here as well, but I would say this one's starting a little bit slow. I was a little bit disappointed with book 3 in this series. It was a little bit slow and repetitive for me, but I'm hoping that this one's going to be good. I've seen really good feedback on this one, so hoping it's going to be a good finale for the series. And then the next book I'm reading is actually in this package, so it just got delivered the other day, and it is Wisteria by Adeline Grace. So this is the third in the Belladonna series, which includes Belladonna, Foxglove, and this third one is Wisteria. So again, it's the third in the series, so I can't really give you a synopsis on this one, but Belladonna is centered around our main character Signa, who has been an orphan since she was a baby. She's went through a string of guardians kind of taking care of her, but most of them are only interested in her because she has quite a big inheritance coming. And in the end, her last living relatives are the Hawthorns, and they live at Thorn Grove, and she ends up going to stay with them, and she goes there and they're kind of partying all the time. They seem quite eccentric. She's not quite sure what to think about them, but the mother of that family has just passed away quite recently, and her ghost actually shows herself to Signa and tells her that it was someone within the house that actually murdered her. So it kind of sparks off this mystery thriller almost, but it's set in kind of Victorian times, so if you like anything Regency or anything like that, I think you'll really like this one. And it also has Death as a character in here as well, so perfect read for the autumn time. And now that all 3 books are out, it's definitely a good time to start picking this series up. But I've been really anticipating this one this year. I read Belladonna last year, I read Foxglove at the start of this year I believe, and I've been really excited to pick this one up, so I'll probably pick this one up over the weekend as well. It doesn't look like it's too long. The print in here looks pretty big, so I don't think it'll take me too long to finish this one. And this one is actually, I think it's like a first edition, but you get the foiling on the front, so I just thought it was really pretty. I was going to wait because I have pre-ordered the Fairy Loot edition. I just didn't want to wait for that edition to read this, so I thought I'd just pick this one up so that I can read it, and then if needs be I can always donate this to a library or something like that if I don't want to keep it when I get the Fairy Loot edition. And then you will have seen in the B-roll I did actually do a little bit of book shopping at the weekend, so I did pick up a couple of books. It's been a while since I've been physically shopping, but I did pick up a few, so I'll just go through those with you as well. So the first one I picked up, and I actually have never heard of this book. I know of the author, I've heard her name before, so Isabel Allende, but I'd never heard of this book before, and it's called The House of Spirits, and it just sounded really intriguing when I read the blurb, so I'll just read it and hopefully you'll get kind of the same vibes that I was getting and kind of understand why I had to pick it up. But it just says, as a girl, Clara Duval can read fortunes, make objects move as if they had lives of their own, and predict the future. Following the mysterious death of her sister, Rosa the Beautiful, Clara is mute for 9 years. When she breaks her silence, it is to announce that she will be married soon to the stern and volatile landowner, Esteban Truba. Set in an unnamed Latin American country over 3 generations, The House of Spirits is a magnificent tale of a proud, passionate family, secret loves, and violent revolution. So I just really really thought this sounded like it was going to be interesting. It's, as I say, not something I've heard of before, but it just sounded like it was really intriguing. So it sounds like it's something that would be good to read over this autumn season. So hopefully I will get to pick this up over the next few months. And then this next one was a total cover buy. I seen it in the store and I just thought it was really pretty. And then I was looking up some reviews just to get a gauge of what people are thinking of it, because again, it's not one that I've heard of. And my friend Bookish Clara on bookstagram had given it 5 stars, so I picked it up. That was all I needed to convince me. But it's called Daughter of the Drowned Empire by Frankie Diane Mallis. So this one, I honestly don't really know too much about it. It just seems like it's going to be a bit of a romantasy, seems like it's going to be badass MFC, potentially a love triangle. Just reading the back of it, there's a couple of people she may be interested in, but yeah, don't know too much about it. I'll probably go in a little bit blind, but as I say, as soon as I seen my friend had given it 5 stars, I thought that's all I need to know to pick this one up. Then the last one is one that I've had my eye on for quite some time, and it's Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Now, I've only read the first 2 in the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson, and then I read Tress of the Emerald Sea, and I just really like his writing. I do like his kind of banter and the characters that he builds as well. So this is a standalone, so again, it's one of the more easy ones to kind of go into if you're looking to get into his world, and I've heard this is one of the first ones you should read as well. So Mistborn, and then this is another one that's a good one to break into that kind of Brandon Sanderson world. And again, all I know about this one is it's about 2 princesses that I believe take converging paths, and there's a lot of mystery, magic, politics, so it just sounds like it's going to be right up my street. So again, I'll probably go in relatively blind, but it just sounded like it would be a really good one to start with, so excited to hopefully get to this one in the next few months as well. So those are all the books that I picked up this weekend, and I actually really need to go through all of my books and maybe do another unhaul, because I am very quickly running out of room, and especially on my kind of favourite shelves, there's literally no room here to add anything else. So need to have a little look through, see if there's anything that I could be getting rid of. That's a problem for another day. But tonight I'll probably just be reading a little bit more, hopefully getting a bit more into Born of Blood and Ash, and Wisteria I'll probably start that over the weekend, because it looks like it's one that I could probably binge and read quite quickly, so I'll probably start that on Saturday or Sunday. But yeah, probably just be reading the rest of the evening. So yeah, as soon as I've read a bit more of those and I have any updates, I'll check back in again. So just jumping on with a really quick update, because I haven't read too much more of Born of Blood and Ash. I'm at about 30%. I think the last time I checked in I was around 20%, and I'm really struggling with this one, and I don't know why. I've really loved this series, but the 3rd book, I think I said before, I did find it a little bit slow. I found it a little bit repetitive, and I think one of the complaints with JLA's writing is always that it can be culled down a bit, but I usually give her a bit of benefit of the doubt. You know, she's an indie author, she doesn't have an editor working for her or anything, and even though, yes, I do agree some of the books could be shorter, there could be some scenes that are cut out, I still usually enjoy them enough where it doesn't really bother me that they're quite long and quite hefty, because I love the characters, I love the story, I love the narrative, I just really want to keep being in this world. But I'm not sure if perhaps maybe book 3 and this book could have been merged, and then maybe a lot of it could have been culled. But yeah, I just feel like I'm struggling with this one. I feel like we're not really developing anything with the plot, and obviously book 3 for me was a book that didn't really develop the plot that much apart from the very end of that book. So I don't know if it's just because of that I'm really struggling with it. I'm only about 30% in, so to be fair, I may be judging it a little bit early, but I feel like so far all we've really got is a recap of what happened in book 3, how people are feeling about what happened in book 3, and then this one is as well, it's a lot more spicy than I remember her books being, and oh, we've got Frank. It's a lot more spicy than I remember her books being, and I don't have a problem with spice. I don't mind them being in my books at all, but for me, I don't mind it when it's well placed, whereas I feel like it's a bit random in this. I don't know, it's just something's not clicking. I think there's just something not clicking with me at the minute, but I'm not going to DNF it or anything, because I do really love the story. I really want to see where the characters go, and I think you will have to read this to understand the next From Blood and Ash series book, so I'm not going to DNF it no matter what, but I'm just Yeah, I'm struggling and so sad because this is definitely one that I've been looking forward to for some time. So hopefully it gets better as it goes along. And thinking about it, I think one of the reasons I might not be liking this as much is because there are dragons in this and they haven't been as present in the start of this book, and in the last book I don't think they were really present that much at all, so maybe that's why. Maybe they're the main thing I like about it. But yeah, I'll keep reading this one. I will give you an update once I've read a bit more, but I may actually switch over to Wisteria tonight to maybe give that a start, maybe see if I can get a good chunk into that and just give myself a break from this one. But yeah, I'll probably update you tomorrow morning once I've read a bit more, once I have a few more updates, and hopefully if I do start Wisteria I can give you some of my initial thoughts on that one as well. Just jumping on to give you a quick update on where I am with my reading. So I did mention that I was going to be starting Wisteria the other day, and I've managed to get to page 102, which is chapter 9, and really enjoying this so far. If you've read the series, it definitely still has that, it's like a gothic Regency feel with this one, and it's still continuing with this third book. Some of the elements of this one, without giving too much away, it does have a bit of a almost Beauty and the Beast-esque retelling kind of vibe, and kind of a reluctant partnership, a marriage of convenience, and yeah, it's just been really good so far. I've really enjoyed kind of the atmosphere building, really enjoyed Adeline Grace's writing in this one as well. So yeah, I think it's about 25% of the way through, so I'll be really interested to see how this one goes. Again, because it's the third book, I can't really give you too much in terms of what's happening with the plot, but the characters are just really good in this. I'm really loving the atmosphere that she's building here, and it's, as I say, keeping really true to that kind of gothic Regency vibe that she had built with Belladonna and Foxglove. So yeah, still really loving this one, really good. It's a highly anticipated one for me, so thankfully this one is hitting the mark. With Born of Blood and Ash, I have got a little bit further, so I think I'm around the 50% mark now, and I'm definitely enjoying this a lot more than I was before. I think the first kind of 30% was just very slow. It was kind of just reveling in some of the things that had happened in the last book and kind of getting us up to speed and how people were feeling, and obviously it's trying to touch a lot on kind of trauma and PTSD and the repercussions of that, and I do get that. I do think it's important to do that in these books, but I do think because book 3 was so slow, I was expecting this one maybe to kick off a little bit faster. But I think now we're getting into the plot a little bit more about what this book is going to be about, and there's a bit more action, there's a bit more things happening. It's not just kind of trauma, spice scene, which is kind of what the first 30% felt like for me. But now we're getting a little bit more into that detail, a little bit more into the plot, a little bit more into the story. So yeah, definitely enjoying this one a little bit more now and excited to see where it's going to go. I may also have stopped into Waterstones again because it's double stamps weekend. So because it's a bank holiday in the UK, they usually do double stamps for that weekend. So I decided to take full advantage of it. and I may have done a little bit of damage while I was in there. So I think I've already hauled 3 books within this video, and now I'm going to be hauling another 6. It's double stamps. I had to do it. It's basically money for free. So I was probably going to buy these books at some point anyway, so it makes more sense to do it now. So the first book I got is The Wishing Game, and I believe this is by Meg Schaefer. Now this one I've just heard is really good. I believe it's a book about books. I believe there's I don't know if she's an author or a writer or a librarian, but basically this woman wants to adopt this young boy, but she can't really afford to do it. She entered a competition from one of her favourite authors to try and get the money to do that, and I haven't really read too much into it, but it just sounds like it's going to be a great kind of fall/winter read. Sounds like it could be quite a cozy fantasy, and I think I've said on my channel a few times now, if it's a book about books, I'm going to pick it up and I probably will love it. The next one is A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman, and this is one that I've just heard loads of people talk about, and what's interesting to me is the people that I've heard talk about it are people who mainly love romance, mainly love fantasy, mainly love thrillers. All have read this and all have really enjoyed it, so I'm kind of thinking there must be something in this. This is just really widely appealing and appeals to the masses, and it does sound good. The premise of it is basically it's a grumpy old man, he's kind of set in his ways, and I do think it's a kind of slice of life understanding why he is that way and perhaps changing his mind by the end. But again, I haven't read too much into it. I've just heard that it's meant to be really good. The prose in here is meant to be really good. I haven't read anything by Frederick Bachman, but again, I've heard that his writing is really good as well. So this is quite a short one, so I thought this would be a good one to start with in his writing, and if I like this one, I can always pick up the rest of his repertoire and check those out as well. The next one is Fishes by Fee Schwab. Now Fee Schwab, I've only actually read Gallant and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by her, but I have it in my head that she's one of my absolute favourite authors because I really did enjoy those books. So I have quite a few books of hers that I haven't started yet. I do have A Darker Shade of Magic, This Savage Song, and now I've added this to my collection as well, so I'm hoping I like something else by her once I actually get the chance to start it. But this one I believe involves 2 college roommates, and it's 2 guys that have basically got this idea for things near-death experiences, and they start to do experiments, and I think one of them goes wrong, and then it kind of follows them 10 years later where they're not friends anymore. And I've just heard this one's quite dark, quite thrilling, and it sounds like it's going to be a really interesting read. Again, it's quite a short one, so it might be an easy one to get through, but I just seen loads of people say that this one's really good, and I do like her writing in the books that I've read so far, so decided to add this to my collection. The next one, again, is one you probably will have heard of. It's The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Now, this one is actually going to be a book club book for me for September, so I've convinced my sisters and my mum to start a book club with me. They don't really read fantasy or anything like that, so it will have to be kind of literary fiction or thrillers or something like that we read, so that it's kind of widely appealing for us to read. But we've picked this book for September, so I will be reading this next month, and I believe this one just follows women in World War II, kind of the forgotten stories of what it was like for women then. Obviously for the men, we know that obviously they went to war and it was pretty traumatizing and horrific for them, but this is a story about the women who were maybe left behind and what they kind of had to deal with as well. So again, I haven't read anything by Kristen Hanna, but I've heard her writing is absolutely phenomenal, so really wanted to try and get one of hers on my TBR before the end of the year, starting with this one, and we may get another one of hers on the TBR before the end of the year depending on how this one goes. And then this one is one that I've never heard anyone speak about. I've never heard of the author or anything, but it's The Afterlife of Mal Caldera, and it's by Natty Reed Perez, and this one, it just sounded really good. I'd seen it in the bookshop and I thought the cover was really pretty as well, so I'll give you a quick look at the cover, and it just sounded like it had a really good premise. So it's basically this girl, she passes away, and in her afterlife she's trying to get a message to her sister because she is the only family left that she talked to before she passed away, and essentially she employs the help of this medium to try and do it, and it just sounded like it might be quite a fun time. It might be a quite fun read. It was kind of giving me Ghost vibes, if you've seen that with Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg. It was making me think of that, so I don't know if that's the vibes I'm going to be getting here, but it just sounded like it might be a fun read, and especially coming into fall, I thought it would be a good one just kind of for that atmosphere and those vibes, so decided to give it a go. And then this last one is one of those ones that I'll probably have in my TBR for years. I may not pick it up anytime soon, but it's The Iliad by Homer, and I decided to pick this up because I just seen this edition in Waterstones today, and it's a really floppy edition. It looks like it's been translated by Emily Wilson, so I'm not sure if that's a famous writer who has translated that, but this is one of those ones that I've wanted to read forever. I love all of the stories that are kind of based on this, so I thought it's probably about time that I get the source material, and I think this will be one that I'll maybe dip in and out of. You know, I'll read a little bit of it and dip in and out as I go along because it is quite long, although in saying that, because of the format of it and because it is like a poem, it might not actually take that long to get through, even though it looks like it's a pretty hefty tome. But yeah, So just one of those ones that I've always had on my bucket list of books that I need to read kind of before I die. So yeah, getting this onto the bookshelf so that I actually have it, and it might entice me to pick it up at some point. So yeah, pretty hefty stack to be adding to the bookshelves, and I think I did say in my last clip that I need to do an on-haul again because the amount of room that I have on there is very slowly but surely dwindling yet again. So yeah, definitely gonna need to go through there and kind of cull some of those books that I haven't read in quite some time. But as I say, double points, so decided to take full advantage. So for the rest of the day, I have a few videos that I need to film, so I'm going to be doing my autumn TBR and my September TBR, so I'll be filming those for the next couple of hours, and then after that I'll probably just be reading and chilling. I am off this week, so I'm off work, so hoping that'll give me a bit more time to read, and I'm hoping to finish the 2 books by kind of, if not by end of tomorrow, at least by Tuesday, because I'm nowhere near finished my August TBR, and I'm hoping to get maybe another 2 or 3 books out of that TBR read. I'm not going to finish it because I think there's about 6 or 7 books there that I didn't get to this month, but if I can get another 2 or 3, I'll be happy enough with that. So yeah, just the plans are to chill, read a little bit more. So as soon as I have an update for those books, I'll probably come back once I'm finished them. I may give you an update for Wisteria in between, but yeah, I may just wait until the end because they're end of a series, I can't really give you too much updates in terms of the plot. As soon as I have an update for either of those, I'll jump back on again. Lovely. So just jumping on because I realised I didn't actually close out this vlog and give you my final thoughts on both of the books. So I'll start with Born of Blood and Ash, and this one I landed on a 4-star in the end. So I think up until maybe like the 40% mark it was going a little bit slow for me. It was a little bit repetitive. I know that our main character had, you know, a lot of grief and trauma that she had to deal with, but I feel like it was kind of dragged out a little bit at the first part of this book, and there was quite a few spicy scenes in there that honestly for me just didn't really add anything to the narrative, didn't add anything to the story, and because there was so little going on in the plot around it, just felt a little bit misplaced for me. So that's why the first part of this book felt a little bit slow. However, after the 40% mark, I do think that the plot of this did pick up a little bit more. We did get a little bit more of that world building that we're used to with this series, and a lot of the dots between the kind of From Blood and Ice series and this series were connected in this, and I do think a lot of that has to do with how much I enjoyed this one. So in terms of this book, it was very much a device to connect the 2 series. I mean, there's always been a kind of connection there, but this one was really filling in the blanks, filling in the dots, giving us a little bit of clarity on who some of the characters in the From Blood and Ice series are and who they become and how they're connected to this series as well. So yeah, 4 stars overall. I do think it was a little bit slow at the start. I do think that maybe book 3 in this series and this one could have been maybe put together. There was quite a lot in here could have been edited out, and I know there was quite a lot in book 3 that could have been edited out. So I think with JLA you do get a lot of that. A lot of her books are quite lengthy, and some of them do feel as if there could have been a lot of kind of more mundane scenes maybe cut out from it, but at the same time I really love the characters and I really love the world that she's built here. So I don't really mind reading about it, but I do think it's something to be mindful of when you're reading her books. You will get a lot of kind of filler in there when you're reading it, so unless you're really invested in the characters, it might not be one for you. But for me, because I really love the characters, I really love the story, I don't mind the filler that's in here that much. But yeah, overall I end up on 4-star for this one, so I'll be excited to see the next book that kind of explores the connections that have been made here. So I think it'll be a From Blood and Ash book rather than a Flesh and Fire book, but I'm not too sure. I think this is the last book in this series, so hopefully that next book is going to kind of bring those characters together, and we'll see where the threads tie together in that one. But yeah, overall on this one I would say it was 4 stars. And then for Wisteria, this one I ended up giving 5 stars. I really loved it. I think with Adeline Grace, she just has a way of writing that really enchants me and makes me really immersed in the story. I just want to keep reading to find out what's going to happen, and the way that the characters were kind of pulled together and pulled apart in this one were just absolutely perfect. I think anyone who likes kind of a Beauty and the Beast, proper, you know, enemies to lovers, gothic settings, you know, and a little bit of whimsy. I think if you like anything like Caraval or Once Upon a Broken Heart, but maybe make it a little bit more gothic, that's kind of the vibes I get with this one as well. So it's not quite young adult with this one. There is a few more adult scenes, but it's not a spicy book, you know, there's not spice in this or anything like that. It's just suggestive. So it's not YA, but if you kind of think of the themes that you get with Caraval and with Once Upon a Broken Heart, and then just make it a little bit more gothic and maybe a little bit more dark, that's kind of what you get with this series. So yeah, really loved this one. Really loved the ending to the series. The way that it's been left, I'm hoping it's left open to make, you know, some spin-offs of this series, because I really love this world and really loved all of the characters. So I'm really hoping we get at least a novella or something like that with all of the characters after the events of this one, but I don't think there's been any announcements or anything like that for that. But yeah, definitely really enjoyed this one. 5 stars. The writing is amazing, the world is amazing, the characters are amazing. So if you haven't read this yet, I think autumn is a great time to start this series. It's very gothic, very dark vibes, but not spooky or anything like that. So if you do want to have the kind of that gothic vibe, but you're not into horror novels like myself, this might be a good series to pick up. And that's everything for this week, so I'm really glad I ended up really enjoying both of those. It started a little bit rocky with Born of Blood and Ash, but glad in the end that I did end up enjoying it more. Let me know if you've read either of these or if you're anticipating any releases this month. It would be great to hear from you kind of your most anticipated reads. If there's anything I should be adding to my TBR, definitely add it in the comments below. If you like this video, do remember to give it a like, and if you want to see more from me, remember to subscribe. I'm posting 2 videos a week, and it'll be videos like this, so reading vlogs, book hauls, book recommendation videos, come shopping with me, all good bookish things like that. Other than that, thanks so much for watching this one. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one soon. Bye!